everyone, I'm Ari here with Rachel and we're your hosts for the Merry Writer podcast. This week we're on episode 299 and we're asking, what are some haters you might have to deal with as a writer? Before we start, if you enjoy the show, do consider checking out our coffee page. You can follow the page for free as we've got plenty of goodies for all. If you're feeling a little generous, a one-off donation will get you access to more treats, or you can actually become a Merry Writer for just $2 a month. For this, you get access to all the items already in our shop, including exclusive goodies, as well as access to monthly bonuses. And all of this helps support our podcast. If that's not your style, but you still enjoy the show, then do please subscribe wherever you're listening if you haven't already, and consider dropping us a like on YouTube. Okay, before we start, I'm going to have a little bit of a mini disclaimer. I'm going to call it a disclaimer. This is not an episode where we are raging angrily. We do that everywhere else. But we are not raging angrily at anyone, especially not anyone specific. We're just making a silly episode to discuss some types of people that you may encounter as a writer. And honestly, if you've ever worked in retail or food services, you'll probably understand that certain jobs and even certain hobbies can sometimes attract people and their opinions, which they really want to share, whether you want to hear them or not. And I say that as me and Rachel are sharing our opinion. But hey, this is our show. This is what we're allowed to do. But yeah, please take this as not an aggressive attack on anybody. It isn't. It's a silly, funny episode. I hope it's funny. It's probably not funny. I don't know. Okay, so if you've been writing for a while, you may end up meeting certain people who do or say things that can feel a little, that's the word I'm using. Let's start with some people who don't like your work or you. I mean, sometimes they can just not like you as a person, and it could be for many reasons. You know, they might just have a natural dislike for you and everything you are and stand for and whatnot. And they really want to tell you about it. Don't know why these people feel the need to come out of the woodwork and make a big point like that is important for them to tell you how much they don't like you or your work or your style or your website or anything. But there, you know, I mean, if you're lucky, you won't have to deal with them because there's not millions of them, but there's enough of them that sometimes they will just creep out and tell you that they don't like you and they don't like your work. I'm gonna let Rachel take it because I think her point kind of ties into that, so take it away.
I think when it comes to like some people put it on a personal level so that when they come up to you and they're like, I just don't like you as a person, so therefore I don't care if you're like some famous author or even if you're not famous author or whatever, like they can't be bothered to believe that some people would actually support you, and they will just do anything that they possibly can to knock you down a peg. And I can think of people in my life who would do that, or who did do that, actually, now that I think about it. But some of those people are going to be readers. And sorry, not sorry when I say that. I mean, I think we all know what review bombing is, especially on Goodreads. And we know that the book community can really rally together when an author does a little something that's out of place, right or wrong. I'm not like thinking of any specifics, but there are some times where there's been controversy with an author that I've been like, oh, the reading community is right on this one. Then there are other times where I'm like, the reading community took this a little too far. And I'm sure you can probably think of some examples. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, I am right there with you with some of the controversies. I mean, I'm in the writing community, but I feel like I'm always on the outskirts because I'm so hateful of social media. I kind of swing back and forward when I can be bothered. So often I come to controversies late, and then I'm always shocked that some of them it's like, really? That was a wait, huh? What? And then you dig in, and then I think like a lot of things they grow on their own, don't they? And it kind of spirals. But what you said about like the the review bombing, there are people out there who really need to get a life because they will specifically pick books that are, these books clearly state the genre, the trope, you know, and there are readers out there, thankfully not that many, who will gravitate towards them even though they don't like them. and read them and then tear them down. And there have been cases where people have been able to like go and look at the readers on Goodreads. And like there's a few where literally they've only left 1-star reviews, like hundreds, and the only review has been a 1-star on everything. That's bizarre. I mean, I feel like if that's the case, reading's not for you. It's just not. If every book you've picked up in your life is a 1-star, don't read. It's like, why are you making yourself so miserable? And why are you spreading that misery around? I don't get it. It's like, why would anyone be so obsessed with reading things they already know they hate? And again, I've seen that in reviews where people have been like, I don't really like romance. And this book was full of romance. And it's like, yeah, it's marketed as a romance. The cover, the title, the themes, everything's spelled out as a romance. And you're complaining that it's a no one was forcing you. Was someone holding a gun to your head? Do you forced to read the romance and then leave a review? You also get with popular books, like if some certain books start becoming very big and hyped, I have heard people I know have been like, oh, I'm so sick of hearing about this book. I haven't read it. I hate it. And it's like, how do you know you hate it if you haven't read it? Don't get me wrong, if you don't like the hype, fine. But to then have such a vitriolic response to a story you haven't read, and it might be that obviously they don't like the hype. Nobody likes it when something's thrust down your throat like that. I get it. But again, there's been people who've left reviews. Oh, I started this book because everybody was raving about it. And it's like, you can already read the tone is like, I didn't care for it already. And I didn't finish because, oh my God, awful. And it's like, kind of feels like you went in there with an agenda, you know? And the one I always remember, and you might have read this because it was big around, I think it was the pandemic time, was the reader who emailed the author their negative thoughts on the book. You know, like most people would put the review down. This person reached out to the author and left her an email. And I think she ended up responding hilariously. And then he responded again. And if you know who I'm talking about, it was Geneva Rose. And it ended up becoming this whole thing where she then claimed that she was a pen pal to this gentleman called Scott who had sent her this review to her email. And honestly, I think it ended up working as a really good marketing tactic. So even that can work, but it's like you don't need to send emails to authors to tell them how much you don't like their books. Just don't like them. Leave the review if you really feel you need to. No issue. You know, everyone should be allowed to leave a review, whatever they feel. But reaching out, tagging people in it, don't do that. No, nobody needs that.
I want to piggyback off of this for a second, and I'm about to say something that's probably controversial. Some readers who leave reviews on your books, they're not reviewers. They're like, there's a difference between readers and book reviewers, if you know what I mean. And I feel like a lot of like the influencers in the book community, your book is content to them. It's not a story. It's not something that they're reading for fun. It's content for them. And that's why they're leaving a review. It doesn't matter if they liked it or not. It doesn't matter if they were interested in reading it or not. It's content. And then you have some other readers that they genuinely wanted to read your book, whether they liked it or not, they'll leave a review, and it's a genuine, honest review. And then you have those people that Ari kind of touched upon it. They just don't read what the book is marketed as. I have seen people leave reviews and they'll knock it down a couple of stars because it didn't have enough spice for their liking, for example. And it's like, okay, I mean, that's fine, but that's also personal preference. Is that really worth knocking it down 2 stars because you think it didn't have enough spice in it? And those are the type of reviewers that I have issue with, because that was your whole review. It's 3 stars because it didn't have enough spice. Well, what are your thoughts on the characters? What about the writing style? What about the narrative? Like you didn't touch upon any other features of what makes a book a book. Like, did you enjoy the plot? If there was a plot, I don't know. Some spice books really don't have that much plot because it's all spice. But you gotta. It's that type of thing that you'll have to deal with. Are you dealing with readers and fans of your genre and your style, or are you dealing with book reviewers that just want to have content on their social media, or are you, it's, you gotta, I don't know, there's those different type of readers that you have to pick out, and you don't know who they're going to be until they actually leave a review. And yeah, just something to think about. Not necessarily a bad thing, but when it comes to reading and reviewing books, everybody, the readers, they have their own agenda. And sometimes it's content, sometimes it's a genuine love of the story, and sometimes they're just reading for the sake of reading or reviewing for the sake of reviewing. I don't know.
That spice thing always annoyed me because I've seen it with books where the book has either been clear saying, no spice, or clean spice, or clean spice. It's like a Spice Girl, but she's like vacuuming. Show my age there, Spice Girls. What was I talking about? Give me a minute. My brain's just misfired. Yeah, so you've got like books that are like, no spice, or it's like, fade to black. And things have become more clear. People have wanted to put things on to make it like, oh, you're aware that it's a happy ever after, or you're aware it's got spice or it's got no spice. And don't get me wrong, if you're picking up a book and it's got like half naked people on it and they're clinching each other, I will understand that maybe you're thinking there's going to be a bit of spice. But if it's not got that, and they're very clear about they've written it on, and you're still going, oh, there was no spice, it's like, well, then that wasn't for you. It's like, did you not read any of the information? Did you not get any of that? Not every book has to have that. And there have been some authors who write no spice, as that's their specific preference, who actually get like bad comments on their social media and questions like, why don't you do that? And it's like, that's the thing that sells. And it's like, the fact that there are people out there who question that when it's obviously everyone's preference, it's weird. And then to be, penalized with a review, to me, it's up there with if you buy a product and the country you're buying it from is having a postal strike, and then the item arrives and the item is perfect and the wrapping is perfect, but it's a couple of days late because of a postal strike, and then you leave a 1-star or a 2-star review on the shop, and they had physically nothing to do. They didn't start the strike. They weren't in the postal service. They weren't flying out to deliver it personally to you. It's like, it's not their fault that there was a postal issue. They have no control over that. It's that kind of thing. This is just me having a rant because I've had issues with that in my other part of my life. But never mind. Let's keep going.
I like how we said we were like, this isn't going to be a ranty episode, and it absolutely is. It's a ranty writer.
We might as well start throwing in AI and have a real good rant.
I know. God.
No, we're not talking about that. The other people you could meet, people who don't consider you a writer if you aren't published. Bonus points if you are published, self-published, and they don't consider that published because you didn't go traditionally published. How many times can I say the word published? That's way too many. If you're writing, you're a writer. In my personal opinion, if you have something published, whether that's traditional or indie or hybrid, you're an author. So I see it as two different things. Again, this is my personal definition. If you write, you're a writer. If you are published, that changes to author. However, whether you are self-published, hybrid published, traditionally published, it's still published. And that doesn't mean you are any better or any worse than the people who aren't published or maybe don't want to be published. The idea of being kind of like snooted upon because you haven't traditionally published. I mean, we still have some of that with the self-publishing aspect. People still kind of look down on self-publishing, not as much as it used to be. I think there's a lot more understanding and agreement that, a lot of self-published authors are very talented and put the money and the effort into their work. It's not just someone throwing up their first draft. But the fact we still have in 2025 people being a little snooty because you're not published yet, especially if you've been writing a while, and if you are published, if you're not traditionally published, and it's like, oh no, that's awful. And honestly, it's tiring to hear that. It really is. Especially if you're just talking about your writing and you're not making a big deal of it. You just want to talk about your writing, or you want to talk about anything to do with that. And it's like, oh, I'm writing a story. Oh, is it published? Like, does that always have to be the first question? And I don't mind it. But if it's the first question and then you like say, no, this one's still being written, or yes, I've published some small things over here, self-published. Oh, self-published. It's like, yeah. Can we talk about the writing instead? Just gets a bit tiresome.
This goes along with the episode we did a while ago about questions writers hate. If Ari can find it, maybe she'll link to it in the description, because that's essentially like what we're talking about. But it's the thing is, part of the problem is that many people, if you're not a writer, you have zero understanding of what it takes to write a book and to publish a book and to edit a book, and not necessarily in that order, of course. But and you don't expect people to understand, because I mean, I'm not a surgeon. I recognize all of the work and effort that goes into becoming a surgeon and what they need to do during surgery, but I could never in my life understand the depth of becoming a surgeon and performing surgery, whatever it is. So it's the same thing with writing too. You can't expect people to understand it on the same level as you, because you're the one doing the writing and they're not. But it's just one of those things that you have to deal with. There are going to be people that are going to ask those types of questions, and it's very difficult not to just roll your eyes at them. But it's like, you can have people who support you, but they don't understand. So sometimes they're going to say things or do things that don't seem supportive. I hope this is making sense, and they're not doing it on purpose, but it's just one of those things that you just kind of need to toughen up and have that thick skin and just say, this is the way things are. And I mean, I get it. Yeah, when you tell people you're a writer, they'll, for almost the first thing out of their mouth is going to be, oh, when can I read it? Or let me know when it's published so that I can tell people that I know a famous author. That's one that I've heard many, many times. And I'm like, I don't even want that. I just want to write and have fun with it. But it's just, essentially, people don't think before they speak. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
I mean, we do that. That's our podcast. Is literally us blurting things out and they're going, I actually need to call that.
Okay, but we're not live. People don't have to listen.
Exactly.
So if you guys get upset with what we say, it's your fault.
That is Rachel's opinion. I do not support it. I am not courting controversy right now.
I'm just overtired today, so I'm going to spout whatever I want. You can choose to believe me or not. I mean, if you've been listening to the podcast for however long this has been going on, almost 300 episodes, then I think you know me well enough at this point. I'm going to say stupid shit.
It's like, we have been talking a lot of crap for a long time.
We really have.
Kudos to everyone who's still listening to it, because, oh, you people so sweet. We do love you.
Yeah, kudos to you, but also it's your fault if we say stupid shit.
You have stupid shit. Let's talk about more people who could be really annoying. I always feel really awkward with this one. Other writers who might not be as far as you, or even those who are further on. It's lovely, the idea of thinking, oh, the writing community, we're all supportive, we're all that. But not everybody is. And sometimes people can get jealous, and sometimes people they compare too often. And if you're in a further along in your career or your path than they are, if you've been writing longer, if you've developed your skill, because you've been writing for so many years, you can get people who don't take that well and can then try and tear you down. I have seen this more in group settings, mainly on things like Facebook, which I do not visit very often. I use it as a scheduler, that is it. But I remember Facebook groups was bad for that. You'd get people and they'd share some stuff, and it would usually be like a critique group, or like a sharing of ideas and thoughts to like, if someone was struggling. And some of the underhanded comments and the snark and the passive aggressive ways would come out if you got, some certain writers, if they were a little bit, further back in their career. Because I mean, we're all on different paths. We're all taking different times. Some people write fast and they're pushing out books all the time. Other people write slower, they're taking the time. Other people are in the middle. I mean, and none of these are right or wrong. It's whatever works for you. You've listened to this podcast enough. It always comes down to you do you. But you can sometimes get people who get jealous or who get upset. And Others where they even ask for critique, and then when you try and assist, they take it really personally, as if you're literally pointing at their baby going, this is ugly. And I mean a human baby. And you don't do that, no matter what you think. So it's a little sad when it comes directly from the writing community, but it does happen. I'd like to say it doesn't happen as often. That might be because I don't spend much time on Facebook and I don't see it anymore. But it definitely was there, unfortunately.
No, it happens to everybody, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I have known writers when I first started writing, and when they got published or when they self-published and they made it big, I never heard from them again. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It sucks, but also that's kind of part of the writing journey, I think, especially when it's online, because a lot of these writers, they're in different parts of the world from me, and we've never actually met in person. So it's very difficult that when they make it when they make it bigger than you have, and they're busier and they just kind of forget about all that stuff. And yeah, like I said, it does suck, but it happens, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's just something that you need to keep in mind, that a lot of your core group, while you work on this current novel, they may or may not be there to see the finished result. And they may or may not be there to support you throughout your entire writing journey. And it's just something that you need to accept, because people grow apart, especially if you're strangers on the internet. Sorry to say.
Yeah. And bouncing off that is the other way, where you will, if you've managed to publish something or you've managed to move ahead with your career, if you are friends or have connections with people who are, again, not at that point, you might suddenly find that some of them aren't as aren't as cheerleading. Nope, that's not a good word either. Aren't as supportive. Why don't we stick with that? You'll find that some of the people aren't as supportive as they were when you were maybe both at the same level, if you were both unpublished, or if you were, I can't think of any other things, so I'm just gonna stick with that. Seriously, my brain is just not working anymore. And sadly, it's like that has happened. I've seen that, I've experienced that, where if you're at the same level with other people and everyone's like you're cheering each other, you're encouraging each other, and then somebody sort of steps ahead, and then suddenly some of that cheer kind of goes. Instead of being like, wow, excellent, look what you're doing. Yeah, I'm going to shout about your book. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to upload things on social media. I mean, we're not saying you have to do any of that, but you should be supportive of your friends and the writing community in some way. I personally think, again, personal opinion, don't come at me, but sometimes you will get people who, because maybe you've stepped ahead, or they've got delayed or whatever, suddenly that support slides away. And that is sad, because you hope that everyone would be supportive, so that when that person then does theirs, you can be supportive of them. But as Rachel said, sometimes people, if they've got ahead, they just kind of cut everybody off, or they move into a different clique. It's an interesting thought that it's almost like a little friendship clique, and it shifts and changes. It's like, oh, they've moved into the popular group, and you're not that.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah.
And yeah, unfortunately it can upset people, and they can take it badly, and that it's I don't know, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. And again, no hate to anyone. We're never saying this is awful. We're just saying it happens, and if you're aware that it could happen, don't assume that the group around you is always going to be there, and don't assume that they're always going to be cheering you and have your back. That sounds really negative, like I'm like, oh my God, be ready to just cut them loose. It's like, I'm not.
No, but it goes both ways too. Like, you have to be careful that you don't accidentally cut them off as well. It goes both ways. We're not just like blaming other people. Like, you yourself, if you want to keep in touch with those people, then you also need to make an effort to keep in touch with them.
Yes, and obviously with the writing career, as I am finding with a massive list of things I need to do, I realize how much time you have to give to not the writing, to all the other nonsense around the writing. So yeah, Rachel's right. It's so easy to kind of like, I'll respond to that person's email, and then like 3 months have gone by and you didn't. That's bad. Try not to do that. Try and keep things tracked and flagged and everything. But yeah, so that is one. And the last one I'm going to say is the weird writers, and I say this with love a little bit. The weird writers who see other writers as competition. I don't get it. This is not like buying a fridge. Once you've bought a fridge, you don't need another fridge until the first one breaks. You can buy many books. It's not like if you buy one fantasy book, you can't buy any other fantasy books. It's not saying if you buy a book that's got a Fae Prince in it, you can't read any other books with Fae Princes in them. You can, and readers often do. There's no need to see any other writer as competition. In fact, it even works in your favor if other writers are writing similar genres, themes, tropes to you, because if you've ever spoken to most readers, they often have like a cluster of stories and tropes that they really like. You know, if you're enemies to lovers, if you're a love triangle, they will usually find other books that are similar. It's literally why Amazon has, you know, books that, you know, you find a book, it's like, oh, other books that people like. And they're almost very similar in style, in story, in, you know, characterization, tropes to the original one you looked at. It works to your favor. It's not a bad thing if somebody else is writing a Fae Prince book, you know? I don't get it, but I mean, years ago, there was the incident where authors, bad authors, were creating sock puppet accounts on Amazon, and I think it was Goodreads, and like spamming one-star reviews to their so-called competition to drive up the hope that people would go to their book instead. And it's just the idea that people were looking and going, oh, I don't want anyone reading their book. They need to read my book. It's like they can read both, right? You get that. No one's like only buying one. Again, it's not a fridge, not a car. You don't need to just spend money on buy one and that's it. I don't get it, but it happens. People do still do that. I don't know if they do this foot sock puppet thing. Obviously, Amazon stopped the whole anonymous reviews. You couldn't do that. But you do sometimes see people get a little bit annoyed that other people are writing in a similar story, a similar fashion. And I don't get it, but it does happen. You want to avoid people like that. You want to avoid writers who see other writers as competition because we're not. We're community. We're not in competition. And I will fight anyone who thinks we are. I won't. I don't really want to do that. It means leaving my house. Ugh, terrible.
I'm gonna let you end on that because I concur.
Nice. Okay, those are the ones we're talking about. I am sure there are other people you may have to deal with who bring a little bit of hate and a little bit of stress to you as a writer. Feel free to talk about it. Before we leave, if you do want to learn more about us, the podcast opportunities to be a guest on the show, don't forget to check out our website at themerrywriterpodcast.podbean.com. Let's turn it over to you guys. What sort of people have you met who were not exactly supportive or may have been a little bit crinkly and crunchy with their disdain for writers or you or your work or anything? Let us know in the answers in the comments. We love to chat about it and we want to hear all the drama and the tea. Let's go around spilling it. Remember, we do release new episodes every Wednesday. Next week, we're revisiting old episodes because it's actually our 300th episode. Bam, bam, bam. No, we cannot believe we've been doing this for 300 episodes and for 5 years. It's shocking, honestly. I don't actually want to look at old episodes. I am terrified of how bad they are.
No, we're doing
Not
it.
that these are any better.
We're doing it, Ari.
Yeah.
It's gonna be funny.
What would be worse is if we actually found that the older episodes were better and we were actually worse now.
I highly doubt that's gonna happen, but that would be really sad if that were the case.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll let you decide next week when we look at some of these old episodes and you can say like, oh no, you were much better then and terrible now. But yes, to ensure you don't miss it, you know, because who wants to miss that? Hit the subscribe button on the way out if you haven't already. Come on, subscribe. It's gonna be our 300th episode. You know, you owe us. You don't.
Yeah, help us get to 200 on YouTube, please. We've been stuck in the 180s for a really long time now.
We did ticker up over 190 for a while and then tickered back down again. It's like, yeah, it's I don't think most people use YouTube for our episodes.
No.
It is mostly like Podbean and loads of other places. But it's sad because I don't know. I'm always drawn to YouTube, so I was looking at, oh, there's hardly anyone listening on there, but we're getting a lot of listens other places, which is good.
Well, yeah, but think of that, Romari. If we had like 180 something people in a room and you and I were standing on stage about to do a live episode.
No,
exactly. So
that is terrifying. That is seriously terrifying. And to be honest, I don't know if I'd be able to cope if everyone left comments on YouTube because I respond to comments and I don't have time at the best of times to remember to go and check it. Okay, this is my intro and I'm completely botching it. Where am I going? Yeah, there it is. As always, thanks for listening to the Merry Writer podcast and we'll see you next week. This podcast is brought to you by Arguments Over Tea and Coffee. Which side are you on? The music titled Inspired is by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons 4.0.